You have felt it before. You walk into an old building, an empty church, a basement, a house that has stood for 100 years, and something is wrong. The air feels heavy. The hairs on your arms lift. You have the sudden, unshakable sense that you are not alone, that something is watching you. Nothing has moved. Nothing has made a sound. But every instinct in your body is telling you to leave. For thousands of years, humans have had one explanation for that feeling: ghosts, spirits, the presence of the dead. It is one of the oldest and most universal experiences we have, this creeping dread in certain places, and almost every culture on Earth has blamed it on something supernatural. But a study published in 2026 suggests the truth is stranger than a ghost, because that feeling of being watched may be real, and it may have a physical cause. Something is in the room with you. It is just not what you think. It is a sound so low that your ears cannot hear it, but your body can feel it. And once you understand what it is doing to you, you will never walk into an old building the same way again. To understand this, you have to know that hearing has a floor. Human ears can pick up sounds down to about 20 hertz, 20 vibrations of the air every second. Anything slower than that, any sound below 20 hertz, and you simply do not hear it. It is called infrasound. And here is the unsettling part. Just because you cannot hear it does not mean it is not there, and it does not mean your body is not responding to it. Infrasound is everywhere. It pours off of traffic on a distant road. It rumbles out of industrial machinery. It groans through old ventilation systems and aging pipes and boilers. Wind blowing across the opening of a building can generate it, the same way blowing across a bottle makes a note, except this note is far too low for you to ever hear. And crucially, these are exactly the kinds of sounds you find lurking in old buildings. The very places that feel haunted are the places quietly humming with a frequency below human hearing. So researchers decided to test what this silent sound actually does to a person. They took volunteers and exposed them to infrasound at around 18 hertz, just below the edge of hearing. The people could not consciously hear a thing, but their bodies told a completely different story. Their cortisol went up. Cortisol is your primary stress hormone, the chemical your body floods itself with when it senses a threat. Measurably, the level of it in their saliva spiked. At the same time, they reported feeling more irritable, more on edge, more uneasy and sad, for no reason they could name. They were sitting in a room in silence, and their bodies were reacting as if they were in danger. The invisible sound had reached past their conscious mind and pulled the alarm directly. Now think about what that means for a so-called haunted house. You walk in. Somewhere, an old pipe or a gust of wind across a broken window is producing a low hum at around 18 or 19 hertz. You cannot hear it, but within moments, your stress hormones are climbing, your sense of unease is rising, and your body is bracing as if something is wrong. You feel afraid, and you have no explanation for the fear. So your mind reaches for the only story that fits. Something is here. Something is watching me. This place is haunted. But it gets even stranger because infrasound may not just make you feel a presence. It may make you see one. Back in the 1980s, an engineer named Vic Tandy was working late in a laboratory that everyone said was haunted. People had reported cold sweats, feelings of dread, and even seeing a gray shape at the edge of their vision. One night, working alone, Tandy felt it too, that creeping certainty he was not alone. And then he noticed something. A thin piece of metal in the room was vibrating on its own. He investigated, and he found the source. A newly installed fan was producing a standing wave of sound at almost exactly 19 hertz. And 19 hertz turns out to be a very special number. It is close to the resonant frequency of the human eyeball. At that frequency, the infrasound can cause your eyeball to vibrate ever so slightly in its socket, just enough to smear your vision at the very edges, creating a faint, gray, shapeless blur that flickers in your peripheral vision and vanishes when you turn to look. A shape that appears when you're already flooded with dread and primed to see a ghost. When Tandy turned the fan off, the vibrating metal stopped, the feeling of dread lifted, and the gray shape never returned. So sit with what this actually means. The oldest, most universal supernatural experience in human history. The feeling of a watching presence, the shape at the corner of your eye, the cold wave of dread in an old dark room, may in many cases be nothing more than your own body, responding to a sound too low to hear, produced by a pipe, a fan, or the wind. Your ancient alarm system, doing exactly what it evolved to do, sounding off in the presence of a threat it cannot identify, because the threat is a vibration your conscious mind was never built to notice. This does not make the feeling any less real. When you walk into that old building and the dread washes over you, you are not imagining it. Your body really is reacting. Something really is reaching out and touching you. It is just not a spirit. It is physics. So the next time you step into somewhere old and still, and that cold sense of being watched creeps up your spine, do not be so quick to run. Pause and consider that the ghost in a room might be a frequency, that the presence you feel might be the hum of a dying boiler or the wind finding a crack in a wall. The most haunting thing of all may be this. For all of human history, we have been building temples and telling ghost stories around a feeling that was never a message from the dead, but a whisper from the world itself, pitched just below the reach of our ears and felt all along in the body.